There's something eerie about coming home to a place that no longer feels like yours. Even before I put the key into the lock, I knew something was wrong. The hallway smelled different, cheap perfume and a candle that tried too hard. I paused, my duffel bag sliding off my shoulder, hand trembling just enough to make me stop. It had only been 6 weeks. 6 long, hospital-lit, pain-drenched weeks since the surgery. 6 weeks of silence from home, texts gone unanswered, calls ignored. They said they were giving me space. But now I was on the welcome mat of my own apartment. And the key didn't fit. I jiggled it, frowned, then tried again. Click. The lock finally turned, reluctantly, like it had forgotten me. The door creaked open. Her laughter hit me first. Light, delicate, unmistakable. Rachel. And there she was, barefoot in my kitchen, wearing my college hoodie like it belonged to her, sipping from my mug. My grandmother's mug. I didn't step inside. I didn't even breathe. Who? She froze when she saw me. Her smile dropped like a stone. Oh. You're back? I blinked. What are you doing here? Behind her, the living room looked rearranged. New throw pillows. Different photos in the frames. The plant I had nurtured from a clipping was gone. In its place, a faux succulent that looked like it came from a bargain aisle. This is my place, I whispered. Why are you here? Rachel's expression flickered, then settled into that smirk I knew too well. Smug, rehearsed, cruel beneath the gloss. They said you wouldn't be back for months, she said. And well, I needed somewhere stable. You know how Mom worries, Mom. That was the moment it shifted. The pain in my side from the stitches, the weight of isolation, the weakness still clinging to my bones. It was nothing compared to the numbness crawling up my spine now. You moved in, I said slowly. While I was in the hospital, recovering. Rachel shrugged like it wasn't a betrayal but a lifestyle choice. You always get so dramatic. They didn't want the place sitting empty. And I was between leases and... Come on, it's not like you own it. Technically, the lease is under Mom's name. My mouth opened, then closed. I couldn't speak. I couldn't scream. My body, still fragile from surgery, refused to fight. Behind her, a man's voice called out from the bathroom. Babe, where's the extra towels? Babe. There was a man, in my apartment, calling my sister Babe. Rachel looked sheepish for half a second, then laughed. Oh, right. That's Caleb. I blinked. Caleb, as in my ex. The one who wasn't ready for anything serious. The one who ghosted me after my biopsy. Caleb? I said, barely above a whisper. She had the decency to flinch. We reconnected, she said quickly. Honestly, it just happened. I didn't plan for it to be serious, but, well, we've kind of been living together now. It's been good for us. Us. The room blurred. I reached for the door frame, steadying myself as the air grew thick and hot and impossible to breathe. Where's my stuff? I asked. My voice came out dry. Foreign. She tilted her head. Oh, most of it's in the storage unit. Mom helped me clear the clutter. You know how you're always hanging on to sentimental junk. Sentimental junk, I repeated. Rachel nodded. cheerful now. Like that broken bookshelf and those dumb scrapbooks and those... My journals? I snapped. Yeah, those. I mean, we didn't throw them out, I think. I took a step back. I didn't cry. Not yet. Not in front of her. I had always been the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who kept the peace while she danced through chaos. I paid the bills. I stocked the fridge. I gave her rides when she wrecked her car. I bailed her out when she blew through her rent. And now she was standing in my apartment, drinking from my mug, sleeping with my ex, erasing me from my own life. Because she assumed I'd stay too weak to fight back. She was wrong. I didn't know how yet, but I would take this back, every inch, every room, every twisted lie, starting with the spare key. I didn't go home that night, because it wasn't home anymore. It was a stage set for someone else's life, a version of mine where I didn't exist. Instead, I booked a cheap motel a few blocks away, flickering, hallway lights, thin walls, a bed that smelled faintly of bleach. It felt more real than what I had just walked out of. I lay on my back, staring at the popcorn ceiling, my hand pressed gently to the tender scar on my side. Every breath reminded me of what I had survived, and now I had to survive this. The next morning, I called my mom. She didn't answer. I tried again. Then again. Finally, she picked up on the fourth ring, her voice chipper, as if she'd been expecting a brunch invitation. "Sweetheart, you're out early. I thought you were supposed to be in recovery for another month." I said flatly. But they discharged me early. No complications. Healing well. "Oh, that's wonderful." A pause. "You didn't call first?" I didn't know I had to book an appointment to go back to my apartment. A beat of silence. Then, "Rachel told me you stopped by. She's a little shaken, to be honest. You didn't have to confront her like that." I almost dropped the phone. Confront her? She moved into my apartment without telling me. She threw my things into storage, changed the decor, and moved in, with Caleb, Mom. She sighed, the kind of sigh that said she was already done with the conversation. "You make it sound so sinister." She was in a tough spot. You weren't using the space, it just made sense. "So you gave it to her?" "Without even calling me?" "I didn't give it to her, I just let her stay. Temporarily." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "Where's my stuff?" "Oh, I think most of it's in that unit off Harris Street." She said something about Unit 318. "Just give her a call. She'll meet you there." "I'd rather not see her again." "Well, you're going to have to get over that if you want your things, darling. Let's not make this more dramatic than it needs to be." I took a cab to the storage facility. The guy at the desk recognized the name on the account. "You're the sister?" he asked, typing into his computer. She dropped off like a ton of boxes. Kinda rushed. When he unlocked the roll-up door of unit number 318, I felt like I was staring into a mausoleum. My life, condensed into dented cardboard and broken plastic tubs. My photos curled at the edges. My grandmother's teacups in bubble wrap, one of them cracked. The journals I thought I'd lost were shoved into a dog food box. My clothes were still faintly folded, but mixed in with kitchen utensils. Like they didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. I dropped to my knees in the dust, hands shaking as I reached for one of the bins labeled Misk. Inside, my baby blanket, the necklace Dad gave me when I got into college, and a smashed frame with a picture of me and Caleb before Rachel ever knew him. I sat there for a while. Hours, maybe. Let the grief roll through me, quiet and searing. Not just grief over the apartment, or Caleb, or even Rachel. Grief over trust, over realizing your family doesn't see you as a person, just as a placeholder. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the wall of the motel until the gray morning crept in, and then I got up, and then I made a list. Call landlord, pull up lease details, contact Caleb's old employer, check if Rachel changed the utilities. Research tenant laws, look into storage unit policies, print backup of payment receipts, talk to Mr. Sutton, the neighbor. Dig up that voice memo Rachel once left. Each line felt like armor. I wasn't ready to burn the house down, not yet, but I was going to light a candle in every room and see which one caught fire first. I never had a reason to read my lease before. I trusted my mom when she said she'd handle the paperwork. I was 19, fresh into college, overwhelmed with financial aid letters and hospital bills. She said putting the apartment under her name was easier, for emergencies. Back then, I thought she was helping me. Now, I know better. The leasing office was tucked between a nail salon and a vape shop, the kind of place you'd pass 100 times without noticing. I stepped in and kept my voice steady. I'm here to request a copy of the original lease for apartment 4B, I told the woman behind the desk. I'm listed as an occupant, but I pay the full rent. I just need to verify a few things. She narrowed her eyes at me like she was trying to place my face. Wait, aren't you the one who had surgery? We hadn't seen you in a while. Your mom dropped off some updated paperwork last month. Updated paperwork? I repeated. Yeah. Said you'd moved out permanently. She transferred primary occupancy to your sister. My stomach dropped. She forged that, I said, before I could stop myself. I never signed anything. The woman froze, then leaned forward, voice quiet. If that's true, you might want to talk to the property manager and bring proof. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a copy shop, printing every Venmo screenshot, email confirmation, and direct deposit receipt I could find. Rent, utilities, maintenance requests I'd submitted, pictures of me in the unit, dated, my medical, discharge papers. Anything that could draw a red line between my name and that apartment. When I walked into the property manager's office the next day with a folder thicker than Rachel's conscience, I handed it to him without a word. He read in silence. You've been paying the full rent since 2021? He finally asked. I nodded. And my mom was supposed to be a co-signer, not the tenant. He leaned back in his chair, jaw tightening. This is legally murky. If the leasing agreement was modified under false pretenses, we have grounds to void it, especially since there's no new contract signed by you or anyone authorized. I met his eyes. So what does that mean? He gave me a tight, sympathetic smile. It means, if you want it back, you have a real case. I didn't go back. To the motel. I went to my friend Talia's instead. Talia had been my freshman roommate, sarcastic, loyal, and allergic to injustice. She took one look at me standing at her door with a plastic tub of documents and said, "We're doing this, aren't we?" We stayed up late that night building a timeline. Every date, every payment, every text Rachel had sent that proved she never expected me to survive recovery. She'd made herself at home before I'd even left surgery. She's got no paper trail, Talia muttered. Just vibes and entitlement. And Mom enabled it. Talia looked at me. You okay? No, I said honestly, but I will be. A week passed. I didn't call Rachel. I didn't text my mom. I let the silence stretch until it made them nervous. Then I submitted the claim to the property manager, and then I waited. It was the day I finally felt like eating again when the message came in. From Mom. We need to talk. Your sister is very upset. I don't know what you told the landlord, but she might be evicted now. Why are you doing this to us? To us? That phrase lit a fuse in my spine. I texted back, I'm just reclaiming what you pretended wasn't mine. Later, that night, I got a DM. It was from Caleb. Hey, didn't know you were out. Rachel said you moved. Sorry things got messy. I stared at the screen. The man who ghosted me during chemo now wanted to check in. Also, there's still some of your stuff here if you want it. Just let me know when's a good time. That was the final spark. Because they still didn't get it, I wasn't coming back for stuff. I was coming back for everything they thought they'd taken. It was strange being invited to a place that used to be mine. Rachel texted me that morning. Not a phone call, just a message that read, Can you come over? We should clear the air. Clear the air. As if this was a misunderstanding. As if I had accidentally come back from the hospital instead of deliberately surviving. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I took a detour. Mr. Sutton lived in apartment 4C, 2 doors down from mine. He was retired, mostly stayed indoors, but always noticed everything. He'd once called me at work to let me know someone had left a package outside my door during a rainstorm. He remembered names, dates, and more importantly, faces. When I knocked, he opened the door wearing a cardigan that looked like it predated cable TV. Now there's a sight, he said. You're finally home. Not officially, I muttered. Not yet. He stepped aside and let me in. I didn't even have to explain. The moment I mentioned Rachel, he nodded, already irritated. She moved in while you were still in the hospital. Brought in the guy 2 days later. Loud. Entitled. Not once did she say it was temporary. You think you'd be willing to write a short statement? I asked, already pulling out my notebook. Mr. Sutton took the pen before I could finish the sentence. Rachel opened the door wearing workout leggings and one of my old t-shirts, the one I used to sleep in when I needed comfort. I said nothing about it. I was saving my words for more important wounds. She stepped aside, as if granting me entrance to a throne she'd stolen. Caleb wasn't there. Good. The apartment was cleaner than before, like she'd staged it for a photo shoot. But some of my things were still here, rearranged, mismatched, and unloved. My bookshelf had become a makeshift liquor cabinet. My framed poem had been flipped backward, like she couldn't bear to look at my name. I know you're upset, she said. Hands on hips, her voice calm, performative. But you have to understand. We all thought you were going to need long-term care. No one knew if you were... If I was what? I cut in. Going to make it? Her lips twitched, unsure whether to act wounded or noble. I'm sorry if... It came off as insensitive, she said. But we didn't think you'd come back so soon. Caleb and I just needed a place and... Stop talking about what you needed, I said, voice low and sharp. You moved into my space. You used my things. You threw away my journals. You slept in my bed and fed my dog to someone else. She flinched at that. I hadn't said anything about the dog until now. Wait, what do you mean? You told me Max ran away. But he didn't, did he? You rehomed him while I was in the ICU. Her face fell. You weren't going to be able to take care of a dog, so instead of asking, you just gave him away. Her silence was answer enough. She sat down on the couch, feigning composure. I get it, okay? You're mad. But I thought we were past this phase of blaming each other. I've apologized. I'm trying to fix things. I pulled out the printed copy of the fraudulent lease transfer from my folder and placed it on the coffee table, her face drained. I spoke with the landlord, I said. I spoke with the leasing manager, and I spoke with Mr. Sutton. You told them I moved out. You signed my name. She blinked. It was Mom's idea. She said it was the easiest way to. I don't care who told you to. You committed fraud. She stood suddenly. You wouldn't take this to court. You wouldn't humiliate the family like that. I tilted my head. Wouldn't I? Her phone buzzed on the table. A message preview flashed across the screen. I caught enough of it. Caleb. Hey, did you tell her about the... Her eyes flicked to the screen, then back to me. Too late. You're still lying to him too? I said quietly. I don't owe anyone the truth about what I've been through. But I do? She didn't answer. I reached for the t-shirt she was wearing. Keep the shirt. You'll need the comfort. When I left, I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. But later that night, she texted again. Don't do this. Don't make it ugly. And I replied, it already is. I'm just making sure it's visible. The formal complaint was submitted on a Thursday. No fanfare. No drama. Just a thick envelope of documentation, signed and time-stamped. Rachel's fake lease transfer, witness statements, medical records, rent receipts, everything tied together, in a neat bow, one that would eventually choke every lie they'd told. The property manager said it wouldn't take long. Given the evidence, she'll be served within the week. If she doesn't respond, we'll move straight to eviction. Week. That's all it would take for the walls to start cracking. But I knew Rachel. She wouldn't crumble in silence. She'd spin. So I started spinning first. It began with a single post. A close-up photo of my dog Max, tail wagging, tongue out, sitting beside the woman who'd fostered him after Rachel rehomed him behind my back. The caption was simple. He didn't run away. He was given away. I'm grateful he was loved while I recovered. I just wish I'd been given the same chance. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't name names. But I didn't have to. The comments exploded. Wait, your sister said he got lost? Is this about Rachel and Caleb? Omji, I knew something was shady about that lease. Your own mom did this to you? Tough. It spread like wildfire. The people who had once liked Rachel's curated posts of yoga poses and self-care aesthetics started asking hard questions. She messaged me that night. Rachel, why are you making this public? I didn't deserve this. Me. You didn't think I deserved any of it, but you took it anyway. Mom called 2 days later, not to apologize, to scold. This is between family, she snapped. You had no right airing our dirty laundry to strangers online. Strangers have shown me more empathy in one comment thread than you have in 6 months. You're exaggerating. I said nothing. She sighed. You know Rachel's struggling. You know she always spirals when things fall apart. Then maybe she shouldn't build her life out of stolen bricks. Mom's voice hardened. She's your sister, and I was your daughter, I said. But that didn't seem to mean much when you handed her my keys. The following morning, the first consequence landed. Rachel lost a sponsorship deal. Some wellness brand she partnered with unfollowed her. Then another. Her posts started getting fewer likes. A few girls who used to flood her comments with "Queen" unfollowed her silently. One of them even reposted my story, captioned, "Empathy matters more than aesthetics, always." Then came Caleb. I didn't say anything to him directly. I just forwarded him a single screenshot, an email from 2 years ago. An email Rachel had sent me. The one where she begged me to help her spy on his social media when they were just flirting. The one where she wrote, "He's cute, but he'd be dumb enough to fall for a decent smile and a sob story." I sent it with no comment. No context. Just the message. He saw it. Then blocked her. Then followed me. The silence from Rachel's side was deafening. Until it broke. A single voicemail. Her voice brittle and trembling. "You've ruined me. You were supposed to be family. I made mistakes. But this is cruel. Are you happy now?" I didn't save the voicemail. I didn't reply. But I sat with it. Not in guilt. In clarity. This wasn't cruelty. This was consequence. And for once, she had to sit with something she couldn't control. The notice was posted in yellow tape, dead center on the apartment door. I didn't put it there. The building's management did, after 3 failed attempts to reach Rachel with official delivery. When she didn't answer their calls, didn't respond to the letters, didn't show up to the hearing, they moved forward. Hours to vacate. It was a simple sentence. Cold, legal, impersonal. But I stood in the hallway and stared at it for a long time. Not because I felt triumphant, because I felt done. Rachel must have seen it when she came back from wherever she'd been sulking. The building's security camera, Mr. Sutton's new favorite toy, caught her reaction. Talia watched it with me on her laptop. Rachel stared at the door, blinked hard, looked around as if someone might pop out and say it was a joke. Then she ripped the paper off, crumpled it in her fist, and kicked my planter, my old rosemary pot, across the hall. It shattered. Then she cried. 3 days later, she was gone. When I walked into the apartment, it was hollow again. She had taken the couch, the dishes, the coffee table, but she'd left one thing behind. A box of broken picture frames and 2 of my journals. Torn. Pages missing. I picked them up slowly. Not sad. Not angry. Just finished. Mom showed up uninvited later that afternoon. She knocked softly. I could see her silhouette through the peephole, hesitant, small. I opened the door without a word. She looked me over like she hadn't truly seen me in years. Maybe she hadn't. I'd lost weight. My hair had grown back thicker, darker. My eyes no longer held the hunger to be understood. I didn't look like the daughter who used to beg for permission to exist. I looked like someone who'd survived. I wanted to talk, she said. Then talk. She stepped in slowly, as if the floor might collapse under her. I didn't know how bad things were, she said. Rachel told us. Different stories. Rachel always does, I replied. She nodded. I thought I was helping. I thought if I could just keep everyone stable. You chose her, I said softly. Over and over. and then you let her choose what part of me got to remain. Her eyes filled with tears. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I didn't know what to do. You could have said, not without her consent. You could have said, this isn't right. But you stayed quiet, and your silence screamed louder than her lies. Mom broke then. Not into sobs, just into truth. I was afraid you wouldn't make it, she whispered, and it broke me. So I clung to Rachel, because at least I understood her chaos. I nodded. That's the first honest thing you've said in months. She looked up. Can we ever come back from this? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, maybe, but only if you stop pretending it didn't happen. Later that night, I found an envelope under my door. No return address, just my name in Rachel's handwriting. Inside was a photo, me and Max taken years ago, at the dog park. I was laughing, mid-bark, arms wrapped around him. The corner of the photo had been ripped and taped back. On the back she had scribbled, I broke everything. And I still don't know why, but I hope you never let anyone do it again. You deserve to be safe. I didn't cry, but I kept the photo, not as forgiveness, as proof that I hadn't imagined the war I walked through, that somewhere, buried beneath all the betrayal, even she had finally seen it. The air in the apartment felt different now. No artificial lavender candles, no echo of someone else's life, just silence and light. The walls still bore the scars, scuffed paint where furniture had been dragged, a cracked baseboard by the bedroom door, but they were mine again. Not perfect, not staged, mine. I made tea the way I used to, real ginger, not that cheap powder Rachel swore by. I unpacked my old mugs, wiping dust off each one like greeting old friends. My journals, what was left of them, sat on the corner of my desk, pages bookmarked by bent photos, boarding passes, and pressed flowers. There was healing in the ritual, small things done slowly, reclaiming without apology. Talia came over with a paintbrush and a six-pack. We painted over every fingerprint Rachel had left, walls, door frames, even the kitchen cabinets. She helped me hang my pictures back up, including the one Rachel had ripped. Me holding Max, newly taped, now framed like a battle flag. You should throw a housewarming, Talia joked. I smiled. I already live here. It doesn't need warming. She tilted her head. No. You need warming. Invite people. Fill it with new memories. Take up space. I didn't answer, but I heard her. The next day, I went back to the storage unit. It was time to bring home the rest of me. I sorted through the wreckage, bin after bin of what Rachel had discarded. My favorite throw blanket, tucked beneath a pile of Christmas lights. The poetry books I loved in college. A candle I'd made at a craft fair, never lit. A locket from Dad. I took what I wanted. I donated the rest. I left the unit almost empty. On the door, I wrote in Sharpie. No longer needed. Not returning. I didn't see Rachel again, not in person anyway, but I did see her name, briefly, on a community post, asking if anyone had a spare room or short-term lease. She had no forwarding address. Her Instagram turned quiet. Her influencer glow faded without the backdrop she'd stolen. And Mom stayed quiet for a while. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe out of shame. Or maybe she finally realized that silence could be a gift, too, if used for reflection. Weeks passed. One Sunday morning, I opened the window and let the breeze in. I brewed coffee, played a playlist I hadn't touched since before the hospital. I sat on the floor with Max, back now, tail wagging, curled beside me like nothing had ever happened. Outside, the city moved on. But inside, I was still and stronger. On my kitchen wall now, above the pantry, hangs a framed quote I wrote by hand. They tried to erase me, but I was never written in pencil. The doorbell rang on a Tuesday morning. I was barefoot, halfway, through organizing my bookshelf, placing the poetry on the top row, the fiction at eye level, the journals back in their rightful drawer. I didn't expect anyone, but when I opened the door, no one was there. Just a plain envelope tucked neatly under the welcome mat. No name, no return address. But the handwriting, slanted, hurried, too familiar, told me everything. I didn't open it right away. I left it on the counter, made coffee, watered the windowsill basil, replied to 2 emails, sat in the sunlight for a while. Then I picked it up, careful not to tear the seal like it was something sacred. I unfolded the page and read, "I don't know who I am without the lies. I've been trying to make myself into someone worth loving, but I keep borrowing other people's lives to do it. Yours was just the closest, the warmest, the safest. That doesn't excuse it. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that now. But if someday you have space for a scarred version of me, not the one who took, but the one who's still learning how to be, I'd like to try." Rachel, I read it twice, then folded it back, placed it in a drawer I almost never open. Not as closure. Not as forgiveness, as a record. Proof that even if the world collapses, the truth eventually leaks through the cracks. I never wrote back. Not out of hate, but because some stories don't need a sequel. That spring, I hosted a dinner. A real one. With laughter that wasn't forced, and people who didn't ask for keys or favors or forgiveness without cost. Talia came. So did a few friends from college. Even Mr. Sutton brought a bottle of red wine and a deck of vintage cards. Max spent most of the evening curled under the table, nose twitching at the scent of roasted garlic and rosemary. Someone toasted to healing, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't flinch at the word. Later that night, I stood by the window, arms folded, watching the city breathe. My phone buzzed with a notification, a photo from 2 years ago. Me in the hospital bed, pale and stitched, holding a small get-well card with shaky hands. I looked at it. Then I looked around. I was still here. I had outlived their lies, outgrown their absence, outloved the version of me they tried to erase. And without fanfare, without fire, I had taken it all back.